I decided to test one of the most downloaded tactics on the Sortitoutsi website to see how good this really is. It was created right at the very start of the game. It's had over 50,000 downloads. It's called The Skins, and today is a tactic test with that very tactic. What's going on there, guys? Kempy here, and welcome back to the Sortitoutsi channel. Welcome back to another Kempy video, and today is a tactic test. Now, it's not one I have created. This is a tactic test on a tactic with over 50,000 downloads on the Sortitoutsi website, and I am intrigued to see how good this tactic really is, and if it is still at the very, very top. It should be at the top of the tactic you use for your saves, and I want to give it a full Kempy test. So I've tested with 4 different teams. I've tested, as you can see, with West Ham, RC Lens, FC Bayern and Braga. So we've got a nice little mix there. We've got Bayern as a dominant side. We've got Braga and Lens and West Ham, to be fair, all at a sort of similar level. Lens obviously doing very well in real life. West Ham doing very well as well, and you can see we've done quite well with West Ham in this first season. We managed to get into Europa League football by coming runners-up in the Conference League, which is a little bit weird. I'm not sure how that's happened, but we've come runners-up, and 6th place Villa have got the... Oh, it's because we've won the FA Cup! Of course it is. That's what we do at West Ham. It's a 4-2 win against Everton. Sorry about that. Souček brace, Lanzini won, Antonio won. A 3.76 XG and 62% possession. Now that is very good stat line for a tactic that we are testing for the first time. It's got runners up in the European football, mid-table in the Premier League, and dominating in the FA Cup is very, very good. You can see as well, we were pretty much in the top 3-4 for most of the season, and pretty much when the games got too much with the Conference League and the FA Cup, we sort of drifted off. But I tell you what, that is a very, very good season under West Ham. Data hub wise, we're looking at 1.74 goals per game, conceding 1.50, which is one area which I'll talk about in the tactic that definitely needs changing. But before we do that, I will show you with Bayern Munich the results first. I'll show you then the tactic, and then I'll show you the rest. Tactics-wise, with Bayern Munich, we've won the DFL Super Cup. We didn't win the Pokal. We got first rounded by SSV Jan Regensburg, who are in the 2nd Bundesliga, with a monumental win against Bayern Munich. We were semi-final in the Champions League by Liverpool, who eventually lost it to Manchester City. But we did end up winning the Bundesliga much more comfortably than they did in real life, this time with 87 points, finishing 9 points clear of Borussia Dortmund, scoring 2.5 goals per game, conceding just 0.74. And the reason why this tactic has got that high goals conceded per game is because it's set up in a high line. Now, just before you do end up watching this tactic and how it goes through, if you can, just make sure to like the video and subscribe to Sortitoutsi as well. We are growing throughout the summer here, not slowing down. We are smashing out the content. So if you guys can, make sure to subscribe to Sortitoutsi, and also go over to my channel and subscribe over there. There's 2 extra tactics a week over there, and this week it's the rebuilds of the relegated sides. Last week we did Southampton, and this week is now Leeds and Leicester, so come over and give them a watch. Now, you can see the tactic on your screen. It's a 4-3-1-2, and it's got a much higher line. This is why you can tell it's from the very start of the cycle, because now that is not what you want to add into a tactic. But to be fair, the results haven't been so bad so far, so maybe it's a little bit over criticised. Starting off with a sweeper keeper on attack in goal with no further instructions, a wing back on support, on the right back with cross more often and cross aim target forward. Same on the left back, with also with dribble more, so it's got that cross aim target forward, which I find very interesting because I've never put this on one of my tactics, and maybe it's something to add into your tactics. If you're looking to make your tactics better, maybe cross aim at the target forward is something that's quite overpowered. So it's something I'm going to run a few tests on whenever I test my tactics from now on. See if that makes a big difference. 2 ball playing defenders with no further instructions. And then the 3 flat midfielders. The one in the middle is a ball midfielder on defend, no further instructions. On the right, it's a box-to-box midfielder on support. Very good, no further instructions. A centre mid on attack, one of the best positions on the game in my opinion. Take more risks and dribble more. An attacking midfielder on attack, no further instructions. 2 advanced forwards up front in attack, 1 with no further instructions and 1 with shoots more often. This is a very FM22 tactic, you can tell. In possession, it is pass into space, play out defence, overlap left and right. The highest tempo possible, again on this year's FM. I tend to run it just slightly shorter on passing directness and slightly shorter on tempo, but it seems to have worked quite well in this tactic. I will try and find a game, maybe we'll do an FA Cup game between West Ham and Everton, and show you some highlights of it as well. In transition, it's counter press and counter, distribute to the centre-backs and take short kicks. And out of possession as well, it's the much higher line, high press system, prevent the short goal distribution and trigger the press much more often. Data-wise, we're sitting at 2.5 goals per game. We've done that already. Stats-wise, scored 85 goals, and we were level on the least goals conceded as well on 25. So that's very good to see. We have obviously got 2 more tests with Lens and Braga, but quickly want to show you some gameplay of this tactic, and that specifically the 4-2 win against Everton in the FA Cup final. Well, here's the first one then. It's fantastic from the tactic. It wins as a penalty, and Souček puts it forward, and there's another penalty. I didn't realise there was 2 penalties to kick things off, but clearly the tactic is that good. You can see Ogbonna brings it forward to Johnson. Long ball forward into Jared Bowen. Drives into the box, lays it back into Lanzini. That attacking midfielder getting right up against the front 2, which is good to see. This time it's Paqueta clearing the ball from a corner. Mikalenko does pick up the ball. Maybe a bit of a high press there. And Calvert-Lewin is in behind the defence. Obviously it's within the 6-yard box, so just a decent little tap into fair. Ziyech for Everton with the ball in a whole gate, winning the header against the goalkeeper Fabianski. Not really seen a goal which sort of, shows the tactics frailties too much, to be honest. Obviously a very high scoring game. The XG is very good to see on 3.76. Obviously 2 penalties helped out quite a lot. So the highlights maybe not the best from that game we have chosen to show. But one thing that was very good is this season with RC Lens. And look at this. 2nd and 1st all season, other than the first day in which we were 3rd. Definitely the 2nd best team in France, and that is very, very impressive. Now, in terms of the squad as well, you can see we've got 2 players, 28 and 27 goals. The 2 strikers absolutely smashing it. And again, I mean, that's one thing I would say about the tactic itself is all of the goals do seem to come from the 2 strikers, and that is pretty much it. But very, very good indeed. Data-wise, 2.11 goals per game, conceding just 1.05. And at 84 points is very, very impressive. And clearly, by far, the 2nd best team in France. 9 points clear of Nice. Nearly 20 points clear of Marseille as well. It's fantastic. I've got to say, there's a few things then that I would do to this tactic is I would take off this much higher defensive line. Probably drop it to higher. I mean, higher again still this year is quite difficult to get right, but clearly the whole point of the system is that high defensive line, that high press system. So I'd probably try and keep that on. I'd keep these bits all the same, the counter press and the counter. I'd probably keep this very similar. Probably chuck it on low crosses and work the ball into the box because it seems to be a bit more of the meta this year. And maybe just keep that I don't know. Maybe we'll go for that one instead. I'd probably just drop that ever so slightly. But again, this tactic has been highly downloaded and clearly gets some very decent results. And the overlap in left and right is key to stay on, so these wing backs do get up and down the wings as much as possible. So it's good that they're on. Maybe I'd chuck this as well on fairly narrow, just so these wingers. I'll tell you what, that's what I'd do. I would put these on stay wider, so they are, a little bit wider on the attack. When the team's got the ball, they're going to just push out wide a little bit more. I'd keep these 2 in the middle. I'd keep that ball winner in there. Yeah, I like that. That is the sort of little tweaks I would make to this skins tactic, but it is very, very good. It's got 50,000 downloads. So if you guys have downloaded that tactic and you maybe struggling a few times with the results, that is what I would do with it. Just drop the line a little bit and make them few very subtle changes and you might burst to the top of your league. If you guys can, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Sortitoutsi and subscribe to myself over on KenPXI, and that will be fantastic, and we'll speak to you next time.